Welcome to the First 30 Podcast. Today we're playing the new puzzle adventure game by Geometric Interactive, Cocoon. Do the interesting puzzle mechanics make up for some of the late game fatigue? And is the lack of combat a detriment to the overall gameplay? Well, let's find out. Thank you for listening to the First 30. I'm your host, Jeppe Carlsen, and alongside me are the moss that flew far too close to the bug zapper, Tim Harris.
Hello.
David Marino.
Hey there.
And Rick Weirdbeard Hogerhide.
Buzz, 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 buzz.
Buzz, buzz, yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
I'm excited to have this episode because I feel like David's been talking about this game for a long time. But before we get into that, I have a question. And think of any game, any single game out there, it doesn't matter, and your favorite characters. Who out of those characters is the RizzKing?
Okay. Let me just stop you right there.
Okay.
Okay. What is Riz, and how can someone be a king of this? Because I am not a Gen Z.
I don't do them kid things.
I don't do those TikTokings. Okay. Rick, do you have a really good explanation of Riz? Because I feel like I'll butcher it. I know what it is, but like I'm trying to think of like.
I can define it in one word.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay, fine. Yeah, David, you give it.
Go ahead.
I saw Rick's mouth. He was going to do it.
It's charisma.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
It's like
I guess.
It's what the kids are saying for like if you have game. So if you can spit game at
game.
somebody you're trying to pick up.
God, holy shit! You remember spitting game? Oh my god!
I don't even remember that. Okay.
Oh come on!
I can tell.
Was that a term?
Yes. What?
Yeah.
Spitting game? I don't think I was ever cool.
What
I
world am I on right now to go like, oh, do you remember what spitting game is? As if it's just a time period that you don't remember.
I remember having game or like, but I don't remember spitting game. Like that's I don't know. Like I feel like that term is what's losing me, the spitting part.
Okay.
Is it like when you're like talking shit?
No, it's when you're trying to pick up somebody that you're interested in. If I'm good at like, hey, there's a cute girl over there, I'm gonna go spit some game at her.
I guess I just never used that term ever in my life. I never referenced game.
I heard it.
I've maybe heard
at all?
I've heard people use the word I have game or like that guy's got game, but I like spitting game is where anyway, sorry. I'm just never was cool apparently. It's fine.
All right. Let me give you my answer before we go too far into your dating history. My runner-up would probably be Kratos because he seduced Aphrodite and then was like, I don't care anymore, goodbye. But my final answer is probably Wario, and here's why. He is fat, he is ugly, he loves garlic, and yet in every game he has women hanging all over him. You have to have so much game to be able to have that many like negative qualities and still have women be like, I'll at least give the fat jewel thief a shot.
All right, I'll give you that. Like that makes sense. All right. Which games are you referencing where he's got women all over him?
Any of them. You can go to any
Really?
WarioWare. He's also like,
I guess so.
I mean, the one cool thing that he does do, like if you play Smash, he drives a motorcycle, which is an instant like plus 100 Riz points
like that.
to be able to pick up anybody.
All right, I you know what? I'm here. I can handle a Wario. Tim, do you want to go next? Do you have anyone in mind who has hella Riz?
I mean, I can think of one off the top of my head, and I don't understand what this particular character does, but he appears to just have all the Riz in the world, and that's Cloud Strife, at least in the remake. This man
Good choice.
literally walks around just kind of being an asshole, let's be real.
Well, he's like a lost puppy, and I think that's what it is.
And like all of these women just throw themselves at him, so
Plus he's hot.
Well, no, listen, he's very effeminate. So, like, normally in the world, people might give him, like, a side eye, but for whatever reason, he just, like, cleans house. He's not even trying and still can do it.
He does nothing.
Damn. All right. Okay, David. All right. Who got Riz?
I feel like I was gonna go because like the really safe answer, right, is Nathan Drake. That's like easy base
Does he
level.
have Riz though? I mean, he's kind of like hated by
That's
all
like his
the women.
character
but
is basically based on it.
I guess, but like almost every woman character hates him for the most part, and then eventually likes him.
Because he was able to sleep with them and then be
Yeah.
like,
Okay.
but like you're ignoring the first part of the sentence of why they don't like him.
Fair enough.
Yeah, but after having a quick peruse through my games list, I thought of a better answer. That would be Rico Rodriguez from Just Cause. That man, like, I don't think he has any relationships in that game to like, he brings in the women. But holy shit, like anything he does is just immediately cool. Like, I'm gonna line launch in and attach these explosives and then rip a parachute to jump the hell out and then cause these two things to collide and explode this building. Oh, it's so fucking good.
He's the kind of guy who, like, as soon as he starts doing his taxes, you're like, oh shit, taxes are really cool, man.
Also, another good one I thought of that kind of doesn't make any sense is the leader of the Third Street Saints, whoever they decide to be, just because.
In what game?
In Saints Row.
Oh,
Specifically 3 and 4, because you can make them be whoever you want them to be, but they're just immediately the coolest character because that's how the game's written.
okay. Yeah, I mean that's fair. That's fair. I guess I'll give out mine, and I don't know if this character necessarily has Riz, but it works on me. Devil May Cry's Dante. All the Riz in the world. Come on now. We all saw this coming.
Chad, you can't just project. Like,
I'm not projecting. If it's working
Riz.
on me, this mofo got Riz. All right. Like I've been talking. I named my cat after this man because I was so in love with him.
Dante has a very specific goofy ass Riz that I see where he's coming from.
I think there's not a single woman on this earth that doesn't look at Dante and go, "I'd give it." And some men.
Wow, okay, he's getting out there. Yeah,
I'm
I mean,
saying.
it's fair, and I think they're gonna be dropping a little bit more sprinklings of the Riz on him during the anime that's coming up too. So
Another one, which the first one really good. So
Yeah.
if you like, I don't know how old it is now, maybe like 10, 15 years now. I have no idea. How old that game? I don't know. Good
Ancient.
one. I'm excited for it. Is that coming on Netflix?
yeah,
I'm so excited for that. The nerd in me and my love for Dante coming together in one. Well, we learned who the RizzKings are in video games, but today we're actually playing an otherworldly puzzle game from the same design mind that brought you Limbo and Inside. This is Cocoon.
Cocoon is an adventure game with multiple worlds, and each of these worlds are contained within an orb. Let me demonstrate by jumping out of the world which we are currently exploring. Just like that, we are now in a world outside. The orange orb here contains the world we were previously exploring. Let's jump out one more time. We are now in a world even further outside and can explore this world using the orange orb that we picked up. Orbs can be placed on switches to power devices and solve puzzles. You can use the hierarchy of worlds within worlds to solve interesting puzzles. For example, to safely avoid this moving barrier, you simply jump out of the world. Let it pass by, and jump back in. Now, Cocoon is not only about exploration and puzzles. Within each world, you have to face a mighty guardian. We hope you look forward to exploring the mysterious worlds of Cocoon, releasing later this year on Steam, Xbox, PlayStation, and Nintendo Switch.
Cocoon has been something that David has been hounding me to play since the inception of that. He heard about it. I'm assuming.
Not politely
because-
asking, just
No, he like it was
hounding.
like
Play
we
Cocoon.
are doing
Because
this.
I think what was it, like the Game Awards? I think the trailer dropped or
This
something.
last one or the year.
Keighley was
before?
involved. Jeff Keighley was involved in wherever I saw this trailer.
Okay.
That could be
whichever
literally
event.
at every
Yeah, I
single
know.
event. Nice man.
Yeah,
I like him a lot.
ever since they showed, like, oh, I'm running around doing stuff, and there's this orb. Okay, cool orb, I guess. But I'm running around doing stuff, and then you jump up and like swirl around and then dive into that world, and I was immediately hooked. I was like, this is the next big puzzle game. I need to play it.
So you knew right then and there that this is the next big puzzle game, even
Yeah,
though
as
like
soon
the
as- as soon
graphics
as-
are kind of simplified.
Graphics. I don't know about graphics. Like,
I think
Come on
graphics
now.
are sometimes important in a lot of puzzle games, and I'll go into that in a minute.
Maybe, but graphically simple, aesthetically astounding.
Yeah.
Okay, so like here's the thing. Explain. I just woke up from a coma. I have no idea what this game is. What's the main selling point of this to you? Like as somebody who was like, I'm hooked from day one.
So, right off the bat, like when we start, there's kind of there's no instruction. There's a lot of exploration, and like that's all nice. It's interesting, but what hooks me about this that doesn't happen right away. You got to play the game a little bit. Is hopping between these different orb dimensions and then realizing that they can interact with each other. So you can take one dimension and stick it in another one, or you can do something in. Yeah, you can do something in this dimension while something in the dimension up. Actually, this is getting into a little bit of spoilers, but you can do something in one dimension while in a higher dimension you trigger something else, and they kind of cascade into one another. Because like when they showed you like doing these things with these orbs, and you need to travel back and forth, my initial thought was like, oh, this is really cool. We're gonna have to go back and forth to like set stuff up. And it's actually very light on that, except for the last couple of puzzles. But there are moments where you need to take this one, put it somewhere specific, and then go up again, go up a dimension, and then trigger what you just set up to cascade through. And just like this interaction between the different levels is just so cool. I love when puzzle games kind of use the environment as part of the solution to their puzzles.
Now,
Kind of like Viewfinder a little bit. Like
A little.
It's like yeah.
I think like
Viewfinder,
the big
Superliminal.
Superliminal is really good too. I think like the big thing though is the puzzles have to be good. There's no like combat.
Yeah.
Like you're not there to go kill minions and stuff like that. This is like a puzzle game. It is all about doing these puzzles. So if they weren't good, like this game would be in trouble.
What's really interesting about it too is for the most part the game's pretty linear. So it's not like the object isn't finding out where you need to go. It's I need to go here, figuring out how you go about doing that. And that leads to a lot of moments, especially later, where you're kind of like, you're looking at your surroundings and it's like, okay, I have these tools. What is the game asking of me? And you're kind of piecing it together. And then it clicks. You get that aha moment.
Yeah.
And then like you're like, oh man, that like that's a really cool idea. Is that the solution? Like yeah, it's the solution because there's not much else you can do. But then executing on that, like figuring out like I need to do this, and then executing on that is super simple. Like you do not need to worry about, oh, how am I going to go about doing this? I need to trigger this. Besides that one example I already talked about in the stream, there's not a lot of worrying about. After figuring out the puzzle, there's not a lot of worrying about how do I go about doing this, or can I do it? Do I have the dexterity to pull this off? It's just you've solved the puzzle, put the pieces in the right place, and then okay, go on to the next one.
Interesting. Is there any other games you would liken this to? Like, I know we kind of mentioned maybe a handful, but like, is there anything puzzle-wise that this reminds you of that you've played before?
It's kind of similar, or not the game itself. The mechanic is very similar to Portal, where you're kind of playing with the space
Yeah.
Instead of like creating like you're in one area, instead of making holes, like now this links to here and you can travel between the two. Now it's self-contained. It's almost like a self-contained level that you can carry around with you, and you hop back and forth, and like that informs how the puzzles work. It's actually, at least I can think of right off the top of my head, it's pretty unique in that fact where you're using almost different levels to work out how to continue forward.
I see what you're saying. Well, actually, one thing I like about it, and you mentioned it really quickly, and I think the biggest thing about this, and I was actually very impressed because I love games that do this. I think the other one we saw was the Master's Pupil kind of does this a little bit, where it's no information outside. There's no text. There's no like added stuff in the UI that goes like, you have to do this to do that. No, it's just like you kind of just figure it out. It's fairly intuitive from what I could tell. And you just go. There's no UI to really mess with you.
Pure cut gameplay, like straight into your veins.
Yeah.
Like, don't tell me anything else. Just give it to me right now.
Yeah, just
And I
go.
love that. I love no hand holding in games. And that just goes to show how intuitive a game like this can be. And to be fair, there's a lot going on. Like, there's a lot of puzzle mechanics in this for what it is. And to explain none of that and you still to like walk through and be able to get that's mind blowing to me. Like, there's things that they could have done, but I'm kind of glad they didn't, because it makes it so much more interesting to watch.
It's a
It's
sign of
actually-
a good puzzle game, really.
Yeah.
Because, like, even if you look at something that's a lot more complicated, like The Room, for instance, like, they drop you in and you just start tinkering with stuff, and then you figure it out as you go. And every puzzle has its place, and it can be complicated, but it's very straightforward for the most part. It's quite nice.
They had to. It probably wasn't like it didn't key in on it because you guys weren't playing, just watching it. But when you get to those boss arenas for each of those like big bugs that you needed to fight,
Yeah.
the mechanic that you use to fight those presents itself. So like in the first one, there was that little trail that was kind of going around. You walk over to it and press the button, and a thing pops out, and you can pick up that thing. But importantly is the boss fight does not start until you pull that thing out of the ground, pick it up, and explode it. Essentially, the first thing that you do in that level is just go through the action of what you need to do to fight it. You know, you're not under any sort of time pressure or pressure from damage getting thrown out from the boss. The game shows you what you need to do. You do it, and only then does the boss present itself. It's like, okay, now do that under the pressure of needing to actually fight this thing. For all of the bosses do that. The first one, that water jet one, it allowed us to kind of screw around before the boss actually showed up. The bosses that happen later on in the game, they always let you play around just one, like one cycle. They let you play around with the mechanic before needing to actually fight the boss.
Now, Tim, the one thing that I'm okay at puzzle games. I don't know how strong you are in puzzle games, but it felt like it did kind of intuit what you needed to do. Like, it didn't handhold you, but it also wasn't just like, here's a really obtuse way to solve these kinds of puzzles. Like, did you feel like you kind of were able to figure out what was going on?
Oh, yeah. Like, straight from the get-go, like, every single thing you have to do is presented to you as you move forward, and, like, there was never a moment where you're like, I have no idea what's going on, because you have to do the things you need to progress in order to move forward, and they kind of sprinkle it in really slowly, so like you always get to see a mechanic before it becomes like an actual puzzle, and then you know how the mechanic's going to work when an actual puzzle arrives, so it makes things much, much simpler. It's quite nice.
Yeah, I appreciate that kind of stuff in games, because like I'm always harping out on this, like the intuitiveness has to be there. Like if you use E for use, I'm already happy. If you use some other weird thing like F or R or something, like I'm mad. You know what I mean? Like, so it's like there's simple things like that. And I know this is a controller, so this is like different offset.
F
but
for
I'm always,
use is acceptable.
no, it's only if E is another type of use, and that's all I'm gonna say on that one.
You like caveman design where you're just like unga bunga E for use only.
That's intuitive. Like, you should
Okay.
figure out, like, well, it doesn't have to be use only, but like, if there's a use option and it's not E, and E isn't some very important thing that you have to do otherwise, then it should always be E, is all I'm saying, at least for keyboard and stuff like that. It's kind of like X. X should always be used as well. I'll be okay with square, but X should always be used, in my opinion. Anyways, I'm going off topic here a little bit. I mean, but I wanted to talk about the sound design.
Yes, that's what I was gonna say, because
okay.
it's so crispy. Like, it's very, very. I don't want to just I don't want to say clean. Clean is a weird word to use for like the sound design here, but it's efficient. That's the word that I would use.
You know what it is? It's not just efficient. It's very much on that ASMR feeling. Like, every sound is very peaceful. It's calming. Even the sounds that are supposed to be a little bit like threatening, it's like spooky, but still feels like it's like my sleep time music, and I love that. I'm all hear that. I said that on stream. But even, like, I don't know, is there any sound specifically that resonated with you? I think my favorite one was the little like dong noises every single time you did the little puzzle things.
Those
like,
were nice.
I love those.
The polygon puzzles.
Yes,
Yeah.
those like little like notes. It kind of reminds me. Oh, I can't remember, like that Monument Valley game. It does a lot of that kind of soundscapey kind of thing. And unfortunately, that's more of a what's the word I'm looking for? Like a phone game, I guess. But like, I don't know. I just love that kind of stuff. So
There's actually probably the best sound in the game is the most subtle. I don't know how much it came across over the stream while we were talking over it, but any interaction, I don't say any interaction, most of the interactions with the orbs, the world orbs, have this very subtle, like, tink, like, you know, like Cheers glasses type glass collision. Anytime, like, if I'm swapping the orbs in a holder, or if I pick one up, or if I put one down, you know, stuff like that. There's just a little clink. It's just so pleasant.
It's a good one.
Anytime, you know what's funny? When you play these types of games, I like to harp on sound design, because I think it's one of those things that when you hear good sound design, it doesn't take you out of the game.
Yes.
But when you hear bad sound design, that's when you're like, this game's trash, but I don't know exactly why. You know what I mean? It's like it was like Dead Link when me and Dave are both like, the sound of the glass not breaking is like jarring. It literally took me out of the moment, because I was expecting it to sound
didn't
really
notice
cool.
it when you were playing the game.
Yeah,
though, so it
it's
didn't
something
matter.
that you know, it doesn't matter at all. But at the same time, like, Chad said something and I noticed it. It's like, oh, that was like weird. And then Chad's like, this is disgusting. I hate this. It needs to make a big shatter noise. And I'm like, yeah, you know what? Yeah, fuck this glass.
Yeah, screw that sound design. But David, actually, you have a couple tidbits for us. Would you care to share with the class?
I do. I have a couple less tidbits now because.
Well, okay, all right. I'm
no,
sorry.
it's fine. I always like to give props where they're due, where games come from. But as a part of that, so we've already said that the lead gameplay designer worked at Playdead on Limbo and Inside.
Great
and
games.
This new studio he has, Geometric Interactive, this is their first game. So after he and this other dev left Playdead, this is their first kind of release under this new studio. Oh, okay, so more tidbits. The file name for this game, so if you're looking at this in OBS, or if you just go diving around the files for some reason, the name of the EXE is Universe, which is not a
that's
spoiler.
Smart. It's smart, though.
And has no bearing on the end of the game.
Is that David trying to lead us away from the actual truth kind of thing here?
I will leave that up to the listener
Interpretation. Okay.
I had to poke around. While poking around in the files, I discovered that this game takes up a whopping 2.2 billion bytes of hard drive space.
Wait. All
That's
right, I
not that
can't
much.
math.
It's like,
I was about to say,
it's
like,
gigs.
that's a lot, but it's
2
not.
gigs.
Okay,
It's
I was about
2
to say,
gigs.
I was like, that doesn't seem like a lot.
Chad just had flashbacks to high school
Well-
math class where he had to go up to the front of the classroom.
I was like, I don't feel like doing this breakdown right now, or moving a decimal essentially in my head, and I was like, I'm not doing this.
And as you can imagine, Cocoon is not a particularly unique name. So here are some things called a cocoon while I was searching for information about this game.
Including the 1987 movie, because yeah, I ran into that problem too.
So we have a line of mattresses by Sealy, a pretentious collection of artsy bath fixtures,
Okay.
a coding framework from Apache Software, a brand of travel luggage. It actually looks like really nice luggage. They got lots of pockets, lots of
Ooh, I love a good
like
pocket.
hard case protective stuff. Not sponsored. And a 1985 science fiction film directed by Ron Howard.
85. Oh,
Yeah.
I thought it was
old school
87.
stuff there.
And now we're back with the meat and taters. We're going to talk a little bit more about the Cocoon's gameplay. And David, since you played the game, I want you to tell us a little bit about the objective of this game. Like, we know it's a puzzle game, but like, what are we doing? Like, what is the point of this game?
Well, funnily enough, that is the point of the game, is figure out what you're doing.
So deep.
Yeah. No, the objectives moment to moment are usually fairly clear. Like, you are moving through these worlds and kind of discovering what they're about. You know, we started off in this deserty kind of rocky area. We discovered that there's some biomechanical stuff going on. There's that big crawler that we're pulling around by his dingleberry. And these stretchy orbs or stretchy tendrils connected to orbs.
Ugh.
And that one boss had like the weird undulating tentacles inside of the rocky, not necessarily rocky, but like hard outer shell. And that is what we're doing. We're going through this game, discovering more about this world. Moment to moment, though, what we're doing is using these orbs to solve navigational puzzles. You can put them down in certain places. You can use them to trigger switches, each one of which there are 4, by the way. There are 4 different orbs that we pick up in this game. Each one gets a special, unique ability that helps us during traversal. So we saw the orange one. The orange one reveals paths. The blue one.
Okay, that I want to. Is it revealing paths or is it just creating paths? Because like you can't walk on it unless you have the orb.
That is fair.
You know what I mean?
Correct. But at the same time, you can't change them beyond the
You
ones
can't
that
change
are
the
there.
path. I see what you're saying.
So
All
there's
right.
those mechanisms that will, like, you can turn junctions to make them face in a different direction. But
Okay.
they are there. You just can't interact with them without the orb.
Gotcha. Okay.
The blue one switches, basically like switching realities between 2 different states. You have like tangible and intangible on certain objects. And the
Greenish
The
one.
purple one's weird. Purple one's weird because its ability is to just be able to be picked up wherever, and I know that doesn't make a lot of sense.
Well,
That
pretend
doesn't
we
make a lot of sense if
understand.
you haven't seen it. But that area of the level has all these like spore nodes, this like mushroom colony kind of growth. And anywhere that one of these little pustules are, you can
Ugh,
pick the orb up
pustules.
from there. So you can put it down, go somewhere else,
Oh.
pick it back up from this network.
Oh, so like it translocates. Okay.
Yeah, kind of it translocates. It's not, it's just,
like a
it
NOS.
doesn't exist until you pick it up.
Okay.
Okay. That's
And then the
kinda
white
cool.
orb is a gun.
Wait, wasn't there a green one? Wasn't there a green one that like you
I
went
called
through
it blue.
stuff?
It's like a teal,
Yeah, it's
Oh,
the
I
intangibility
called
one.
it blue. It's like a teal greeny seafoam color.
So
Got it.
just on like on the face of it, how inventive do you find these 4 orbs? Like, do they feel like they scratch the itch, or were you like, damn, I really wish they had this orb?
A
that I
5th
could've
orb.
done? Yeah.
I think 4 is a good number, especially since the puzzles do get a little bit bloated later on in the game.
What do you mean by bloated?
The-
Like there's too much of it?
They're very it's not that there's too much, it's that they're very large. You're traversing a lot of distance in order to solve. So like I do something in this area, and then I have to travel a long way to do something else in this area, and then I have to go somewhere else down the level. So all of this like tight, snappy responsiveness we've experienced right now in the beginning part of the game really starts to fade out towards the end. And then you get to the very end, and it's like border frustrating about how much ground you need to cover just to solve these puzzles.
Okay, it's
Really?
that's a question I did have. Like, so as you get further into the game, does like every puzzle use every single orb, or is it gonna kind of give us some leeway there?
There is a little leeway. It's not every single time you're using every single puzzle. You
Okay.
might use 3. You will always have all 4. They don't lock you out of them for certain puzzles, except the very end, like climactic run. There's a story reason why you don't have access to all of them right away. You gain them back. But the only one, I think, well, at first, when I first got it, I was like, this is pretty lackluster. It does exactly one thing, which is the white orb, the gun orb.
Yeah.
And then that was the one where the game flipped a switch and was like, okay, now you need to start inceptioning this and using this orb to interact with this orb while it's inside of this other orb. And I was like, holy shit, this just got super complicated.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, to put in perspective, there's kind of like a hub like world overall, like, and you could keep your orbs in here, and then you can it's so hard to explain.
It's very intangible to explain what the hell is happening.
Think of
But
it like an
there's,
onion. Lots of layers.
It's essentially that, but you can kind of go into different worlds through your hub, but I'm assuming you keep your orbs in the hub until you kind of need to use them, or like, what do you
can also, you can nest the orbs. So I could take the desert orb into the ocean orb and then like carry those around as one thing back to the hub.
Oh, I never
and so,
thought
like,
about that.
I can put one in there, come back out, pick up that combination, carry it around with me while we're doing stuff. So I could pick up both of them.
Does it
And then
ever
you can do
get
the same thing-
frustrating trying to be like, shoot, where did I put that orb? Is it in this world?
No, because
okay.
funnily enough, if you go back and look, I didn't point it out because there was only one at the time. The orb you're carrying shows you which orbs are inside of it. So there's like a core, a little candy center of whatever color you have inside
It's
of
like
it.
a gusher.
If you have 2 colors inside of it, there'll be 2 orbiting around the center.
Very cool.
I like that. Okay, see, that is sign of good mechanics when they do stuff like that. I love that. Okay.
The only thing it doesn't do is if you have 2 in there, they have to be on the same level. Because let's say I take the purple orb and put it inside of the orange orb, but then take that and put it inside of the blue orb, you only get one color showing you where it's at. So you would actually have to go into the other orb to see that, oh, it's in there now.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Well,
Do you feel like it makes it kind of? I feel like we're grilling you, like you're in an interview right now.
Yes.
Tell us more. But
Tell me.
what, like, do you feel like that makes it kind of unapproachable? Like, does it feel intuitive still? Because one of the things that we saw, at least in the first hour that we played on stream, that you can check out on the YouTube channel for Chestery Games, is it did feel snappy. Like, it felt like, oh, I understand, put it here, pick it up, do this. With the layering of putting things inside of things, did it still feel as responsive, or did it start to feel like, oh my God, I just don't, like, I don't know, drop this somewhere so I don't have to deal with it?
No, at least in that regard, I think it's fine even when you're dealing with all 4 orbs, needing to solve the puzzles with them. Interacting with everything is very fast, very snappy. Even going back and forth between junctions, if you need to, is fairly quick. I get there's probably like a load limitation there that they're disguising with the little jump up and fly into the orb. That all still feels really good. I think what becomes a bit of a problem later on is just how much ground you're covering. Especially later on when you get into the purple and white orbs, a lot of times you will place one down, go over to like a thing, press a button, travel along on the little elevator, and then get back to the main platform and then go up out of the orb, instead of what we've seen so far is like walk over a few steps, put it down, walk back, and then go up. There's just more. There's more. The spaces
movement.
are larger.
Okay.
Ah,
The spaces are
you don't-
larger that you're dealing with.
You don't think that becomes like more of a chore or anything
more,
like that?
it's more chore than fun.
It
Yeah,
still
because
feels
this,
fun?
like, the way you're describing it makes me feel like I'm
It makes me
glad.
want to itch.
Yeah, well, yeah. I'm glad that we played the first hour, and I'm like, all right, cool. That's what I needed. Thanks so much. Like, the moment that it starts feeling like that, I get this like claustrophobia feeling just from all the stuff you have to do.
That's very late in the game. I think even right up until what I would consider the final run, because there's definitely a moment where you have everything and the game's kind of like, okay, now we're working towards the end. That's the part where it starts to become too big. It becomes a little bit tedious working through everything. Everything up until that point is pretty snappy. Like, you'll get these big flyovers of these giant areas. Like, I have to do, like, this is a huge puzzle. This is going to take forever. But then you learn that a lot of it's blocked off or it's in chunks. So, like, I can solve this section. Okay, now we're moving on to the next one.
Oh,
This section,
so they kind of break
okay,
it
now
down.
we're moving on to the next one. It gets broken down, but that last, like, 5 or so steps that you need to do to finish the game, that's when it just throws everything out and it's like, okay, here's everything you've learned. You have to merge all of these different orbs and dimensions and mechanics, and that's when it becomes really big, or it feels like it's too big.
Okay.
But at the same time, it's the end of the game.
Yeah.
So if you get through that, if you're like, okay, this is taking a long time, you're basically finished anyway.
Yeah.
Okay.
No point in not finishing at that point, even if you do feel like it's a chore.
Although I do feel like this is like, and we kind of likened it to Portal, but like in a way, I feel like this game, even though it's kind of like that trippy, it's trying to do that trippy thing that Portal does with like going through, quote unquote worlds, even though I guess Portal's not really worlds. It's a lot different in the aspect that like Portal's really quick, fast paced. You got to do things. You got to use momentum and stuff like that. This game is really more just like, there's where I need to be. How do I solve it? Kind of thing. Like I haven't seen anything where I didn't see the objective right away of what I need to do in this game. So I feel like this is, and I did check, and I'm really excited for this. This is the game I would play. Maybe a little lit out of my mind on the couch with my Steam Deck or the Switch, because I think it's available on both. And it is Steam Deck verified, so thank you, because like that's my favorite thing to like play these types of games on. I think the overhead view that you kind of get of this game, and I was going to use this for my grievance, but I guess I'll use it now, is kind of annoying because I think it messes with perspective a bit for me. And it might have just been me watching you play, but like sometimes I didn't realize where like you were on the map, like versus like things were in the background or the foreground a little bit. Like it just looked weird, but it might have been more on the stream side, like me viewing.
Maybe, because I feel like that could have been a compression.
Maybe
because I feel like while playing it, like paths. Like you can't jump. There's
right,
no
which is
aerial,
I hate that. I'm sorry.
There's no aerial maneuvering unless you specifically go to one of these pads that fling you. So paths are pretty clear. Like you can see, oh, I have stairs up this way. This is blocked. I can only go through. I have those like little finger things where okay, the orb can't go through here, but I can. So everything on that end's pretty clear. And with how progression is set up, you can poke around. But really what you need to do is the only thing you have access to. So there's not a ton of dead ends.
Yeah.
Like if you can't interact with something, you have to go do something else first. So like, oh, I can't do anything here. I'm going to go poke around on the other side of where I'm at just to figure out what I need to start next.
Okay,
Now,
I see what you're saying.
Chad, I looked it up on howlongtobeat.com, one of my favorite websites.
I about to say I need to look some more stuff on this website.
What do you think for like the general gist to how long does it take to beat this game, you think?
I think puzzle games need to be, I don't want to say short because that's not the, I think a good puzzle game runs you somewhere between 5 to 10 hours. And that's just my feeling on it. So I'm going to say like a good 6 hours. This is my guess.
Tim, what's your guess?
I would also guess 6 hours. That's about average for a puzzle game that's $20, I would say.
Yeah.
So according to the website, they polled 166 different people. The average play time between completionists and just doing the main story is 4 hours and 52 minutes.
Okay.
Oh, okay. So it's just below my 5-hour mark. But let's be honest, it would take me at least 6 hours because I'd get frustrated. I feel like, and this is one thing that I think about this game is I think I'm going to be inside my head too much once I figure out the fact that I can put orbs inside of orbs. The minute that happens, like if I wouldn't have watched you play, David, I think I would have been inside my head being like, okay,
What am I
this
doing?
orb has to be inside this orb for me to make this work. And how do I do that? And then it would be like the stupid, easy solution this entire time. So that is how I go. But like, there's another thing in this that we haven't talked about a little bit. And those are the little guys that follow you around, which are a little additional thing. David, do you want to, what are these little guys in this game?
So they're just another puzzle element. You have to solve these kind of polygon ciphers that have environmental clues that you need to interact with these spires to get them to come out of the little habitat. And then sometimes there's environmental hazards. You need to get them to a specific place. Sometimes you just need to follow their little light beam to show you where they would like to go, and they'll open up paths for you. But for the most part, they're just another puzzle element in order to get through each location.
Yes. The one thing that's kind of funny about them is they're the only thing that I noticed. I mean, I guess technically the orbs get locked out by the little finger things that pop up and you can't like bring the orbs through. But like you go through these little like weird thingies that like kind of collect them. Like, I don't know what they are. They're like, they turn them back into crystal. The grabber boys.
Grabbers.
They kind of grab them and turn back into crystals, and so you have to figure out how to get past those things, which is kind of cool. So like they kind of keep throwing these like little wrenches at you every which way for these puzzles, because like the first time it happens, it's pretty aggressive. It's almost like scary because it happens so quickly. But I kind of love that thing. The little guys are probably my favorite part because they're like really cute, and the
little flypaper traps were definitely a nice little addition when you're walking around pressing buttons the whole time, and then all of a sudden you get your guy snagged, and it's like it's very like crunchy or punchy, if you will, when it actually happens, and it kind of catches you off guard.
Yeah. Outside of the bosses, at least from what we've seen so far, that was the most jarring thing that I remember watching, and that was like it brought me back. I'm like, holy crap, what was that? What was going on?
Well, the game feels very lonely. Like, it's a very solitary game, and it's funny because those little guys, the little floaters, they feel like, I mean, they're obviously not like companions or anything, but there's nobody else. You see nothing else except for those guys. They're not guys, whatever they are.
Little robot boys. I don't know, bugs. I don't know.
But yeah, I mean, you just don't see anything else. So it's like, I don't know. It felt not weird, but just like every time that one of them would pop up, they're literally a puzzle element. And I was like, ooh, I have a friend again.
I was like, I'm rooting for him.
Yeah.
Like, it's like your little pixie, like Zelda pixie kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like, it's what it felt like. I don't know. I like that.
There's another element later on that has a similar vibe where they kind of follow you around.
Okay.
And part of using that mechanic in order to solve puzzles is you have to you put the orb like on top of their head, and they spring to life, and they like follow you around. And then when they get to where you want to go, you rip the orb out of their head, and then they just collapse where they're standing.
Oh my god!
Oh, why is this game like, it's so cute and it's so like serene and easy, but like some of the stuff is like really grotesque and really kind of like upsetting, like them grabbing the grabbers grabbing that's what you just said. But okay, there's one thing, and I didn't mention this yet, but it was on stream, and I was grossed out when it happened. But you were saying like the dingleberries. Hold on.
Stop.
I need to talk about this.
No. Can we not call them dingleberry?
Well, that was David's reference point. I'm not gonna say what I said that they were on stream because I actually don't remember. Well, they're like little balls essentially. Bug balls. Yeah. Kept grabbing by the balls, but like they're gross. They're like, I don't even know. They look like. You know, in like horror movies, this is gonna be really gross. And like when the eye pops out and it's like hanging by the little like I forget what they call the eye
retina
vein thing. Yeah, like it's just like it looks like that. Like you're literally grabbing it by an eyeball and just it's like sinewy. Like I think that's the word I'm looking for.
It's because of the biomechanical nature of the worlds that you're visiting.
I don't know. I hate it. I hate that so much. The only one I really did like, and I only saw it the one time, and David, let me know if it happens more than once, is there was this part where it wasn't as sinewy and gross, but you grab one of these like towers, right? And you pull it all the way over. And then it starts trying to like get away. It's like, no, I want to go back to my home.
Yeah.
And then
he's got like the little snail foot pad.
Yeah, he's just like and walking away. And then you grab the other one, and then you see on the ground that there's these two, I don't know, like icons where they have to meet and you have to step on another platform as well. So you have to time perfectly all 3 of you going on at the same time. So you have to bring one over, you have to bring the second over, and then you stand on it and walk through your path. That was really cool, and I only saw it that one time. Is stuff like that happen more often, or like do they do like more things like that?
That's something I've actually seen a complaint about in at least the Steam reviews for this game. Is puzzle mechanics are beyond the main mechanic of these orbs interacting with each other. Puzzle mechanics are pretty one and done. So those tower guys never come back. You never see them again.
Oh,
bummer.
I like them.
That big like crystal tank that was right at the beginning where we like slowly.
Yeah. Oh, the lunch.
That was the one with the balls. Yeah. That was the one with the
the
ball.
lunchbox. That never comes back.
They could have done so much with those.
Even like the advanced mechanics later on with how the white orb shoots its little like energy shot into things. There's a few that get repeated, just simple interactions where like, okay, shoot the ball here and activate this. That comes back a lot.
Yeah.
But basically, once this game introduces an idea and has you do it, it's like, okay, that was cool. Let's move on to the next one.
Yeah, that's
it's
an
the
issue with
anti-Mario.
so many puzzle games.
Yeah, we did that with Viewfinder too. Actually, like that's a good grievance, David. Does anyone else have an open grievance that they'd like to share, Tim? I'm sure you have some grievances you'd like to talk about.
I mean, my only grievance with this game is I can tell that I am going to feel like it is a chore at some point, and I know it'll happen. And according to David, it's going to happen at the very end. So I'm gonna feel the need to trudge through it. But, you know, I really, really hate when a game just feels like it has become like this tedious nightmare instead of fun.
Yeah, I feel you on that one.
I can tell you mine. For a game that only has like a small handful of bosses, I was really disappointed by the 2 that we saw. Like they weren't.
I like the last one.
Yeah, okay, but it was like it was over in under 3 minutes. It felt like it was like a 3 to 5 minute where when there's no combat in the entire game, and I'm not trying to be like TikTok pilled, where my brain is just like fried and I need constant adrenaline. Yeah, like, but there's no combat. A lot of it's like these slow paced, just move around type puzzles. I really was hoping for some like more depth. Like I just wanted it meatier. Like it just give me some more of that type of a thing.
I think the one thing, and we didn't mention it yet, and the boss is like if you get hit, you do have to start the boss battle over again. So maybe that's like, because David, let's be fair, he played the game before we saw him play it, so he already knew what to expect. So I wonder if we would have gotten more of that meat.
No, I would have been way more pissed off because
angry.
Yeah, like
Okay.
we have to go back and do this again. I'm not saying that I want it to be harder. This isn't saying
You
like
just want more mechanics.
I want like they have the opportunity there to show off like all this cool stuff, right?
That's true.
And yet we're relegated
They kind of leave the puzzle out of the boss.
Right. You
stuff.
should make it into more of a puzzle thing if it's a puzzle game. I would like to see more definitely mechanics involved than blow up the ball in its face. You did.
Yeah, you're right. It's all bombs. It was all like blow up bomb, blow up bomb. At least with the 2 that we've seen.
If it wasn't, I'm not saying make it Shadow of the Colossus, right?
I mean,
but
would be mad.
But because they make those engagements so like unique and memorable when you do them, that like it feels like the boss battle should have been the thing, other than like, because once you see the like, oh, you go into the worlds and you know you get your mind blown only so many times doing that. They have the chance to me to like do some really interesting, memorable stuff with the bosses, and they just I feel like it was a wasted opportunity.
No, 100% agree. But you know what? We're going to walk right into our final say. And now we're back with the first 30 final say. And we will figure out if we are going to continue Cocoon. And since David played the game, he will be going last. So we're going to start with Tim. Cocoon, will you continue?
Yeah, this one's a big continue for me. as much as I hate the idea of it becoming a chore later in the game, and we, stress that perhaps some of the puzzle elements might need to, make a return if we want to keep ourselves entertained, and, the bosses definitely aren't the most interesting mechanic in the game, sure, but at the end of the day, it's a puzzle game, and it looks like it's a good puzzle game, and I am a huge fan of puzzle games, and for $20, this looks like a steal to me. The artwork is on point. The music is on point. Sound design's amazing. It basically checks all the boxes. So I'm going to give this a big hell yeah and say I'm going to probably go buy this like this week.
All right. Nice little review. All right, Rick. Cocoon, will you continue? Oh.
I do not want this to come across as a negative endorsement. I will say this is a great game. I think people should absolutely pick it up. I feel like I got a really good, chunky bite, right? I got a cool experience. And I think that I would rather go out on the high. You
don't want to ruin it.
Yeah, listen, sometimes you just need a little bit of cake, and if you start eating too much, you go, oh, this doesn't taste like cake anymore. I don't like this. I understand at 5 hours, it's really not a big project. So because we've already gotten an hour of it, it feels like I was already in there. It's a great title. I think people should pick it up. I probably won't continue, but that's more a it's not you, it's me,
You're giving the girlfriend example right there. And will I continue Cocoon? Wow, I don't know what I was going to say on accident there. That could have been canceled. Woo. All right. Anyways, will I continue? Yeah, I think so. I think the one thing I'm going to give this, and there's two consoles that I'm really excited to play this on. And I mentioned it before, the fact that it's on Switch and the fact that I can play this and it is verified on Steam Deck, I think that's where this belongs. I don't think I'd have fun with this sitting at my computer. I'm not going to have fun with this sitting on the PS5. I'm going to have fun with this, chilling, turning my brain off and sitting on the couch, maybe listening to music in the background. Even though the music's really good in this, I still probably would have something happening in the background for me to turn my brain off and just listen to elsewhere. I think this is perfectly good for that. And I love games like that. And I don't want it to sound like that's a bad thing, because I think sometimes people say oh, you turn your brain off if that's the kind of game. People think mobile games for that. I think this is a good game to utilize that for, and I think it's one of my favorite types of games personally. So I want that to be an endorsement, not a negative, in my opinion. So I'm just saying that. So I will continue. Now, David, man of the hour. All right, little spoilers on this one. So, would you continue Cocoon?
So the question really should be, would I continue again? Because not only have I finished this game, I've also went ahead. I got all the achievements for it.
Really?
Add it to my perfect games list.
Wait, how many times have you played this?
Once.
Oh, so you did everything in the one time.
I did everything. I did everything one go, except for one of the secret unlockables I missed. I backtracked to go pick that up. That was the final achievement. But for the most part, I found everything my first time through. I would have absolutely no problem playing this again, even for the most part, knowing all of the answers. When we were playing on stream, one of the early puzzles stumped me again. So This is something give it some time, go play something else, and then come back to this and have a fresh aha experience all over again.
Okay.
And I don't necessarily know if it's going to make it into the upper echelon of my favorite puzzle games, but it is definitely one I'm going to enjoy running through again.
That is a shining endorsement.
All right, and I want to give you this in the shortest answer possible, David. Did this live up to Jeff Keighley showing it to you on a silver platter?
The most important question you could ask here, by the way.
Yeah, it's just basically yes or no.
Did it live up to the Keighley hype?
Yeah, the Keighley hype.
It did.
Okay.
I was absolutely blown away. For the most part, from just being a base level, this is really interesting, all the way up to understanding this new thing that the game wants me to do, to just having that moment where it's holy crap, you can do this. This, not only is this possible, it's the correct solution to this puzzle. And like by the time you get to the end, there's I don't spoil too much, but there's this section where you have to use the white orb to fire into the blue orb inside of another orb. 'cause you
Hold
can
on,
pick that
my
orb.
brain hurts starting to hearing
So
that.
you
Okay.
fire, and not only that, you have to position, like you have to go into the one orb, position the thing correctly, then go down into the other orb to make sure that that one is accepting the position you put in the one above, and then go back out to the third orb and have it fire into both of them on top of being a timing puzzle. So you have to fire it
Amazing.
and then do something else in the meantime because when you pick it up, once the orbs have been fired, it's still in there. It exists. So you can pick it up and like,
This is just like, okay, listen, hold on.
You're not helping Rick. You're like he's like taking back his endorsement.
This is exactly like the South Park episode where they explain the movie Inception, and they have the guys in the background where they're just like da, 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 and that's what it sounds like you're trying to explain to me right now.
But here's the thing.
Truly.
And this is why I actually don't see as the one and done puzzle mechanics as a negative towards it. This whole like big massive set piece that you need to do with the timing and the levels and making sure everything goes off without a hitch, you do once. And then it's really satisfying to have it come together, and then you move on to another event. You don't have to worry about needing to do that again in like several different
You
ways.
lose it in your brain and you don't have to worry about it. Okay. All right. Not bad. Well, you heard it here, guys. We got 3 out of 4.
No. I'm like a 3.75 out of 4.
To be fair, you didn't continue, so technically it's 3 out of 4. But I'll give it to you, 3.5. I'll give you a 3.5.
Deal.
On this
Compromise.
one. Yeah, a little compromise there. But this game is $19.99 and it is available on Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 5, Xbox One, PlayStation 4, Xbox Series X and S, Steam Deck verified, very important in my brain, and it's available on Game Pass. So if you have Game Pass, it's free. Well, I always hate saying free because you have to pay for a subscription, but it's good to have on there. And thank you for listening to the First 30. And if you'd like to see more insanity, please go to our YouTube channel. We are putting these videos up, First 30 podcast, and you could like see our beautiful faces, and you could just like comment and stuff.
Chad, we want them to come. Don't tell them that they have to look at our faces, please.
No, look at my face, please, please.
Please, sir.